Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie, and during my Walking Dead review this week, I asked you to submit all of your questions about the WTFS that went down, so I picked 10 of them to answer in this video with one bonus question. All things considered, everyone was pretty much on the same page as far as Lizzie went, but everyone seems to want to talk about what's coming next. Before we get into it, quick shout out to this week's giveaway winner. Congratulations to Becky Green, you win a $20 Amazon gift card. I'll be reaching out to you on your channel for details, but everyone be sure to give her a high five. Yay! Don't worry if you didn't win, the next round of the giveaway starts on Sunday. And for the finale, 2 weeks from now, I'll be doubling down and giving away 2 gift cards. I'm also doing the exact same thing whenever Game of Thrones comes around too. So there's basically going to be like 3 straight months of weekly giveaways. So, on to fun time, let's answer some questions. Number 1 comes from Decaposaurus, ouch, that sounds like it hurts, who asks, based on these 2 deaths, do you think that there's going to be another major death before the season ends? So yes, based on all the rumors, everything we've learned, even the super crazy rumors, I think that something else is coming. It seems like they're still building towards one more death to launch things into season 5. A lot of people are pointing fingers at Daryl based on the teaser for the next episode. He isn't integrating well into that roving band of lunatics, and they're making fun of the fact that he can't find Beth. I think that's just misdirection though, but I'm not going to call them hunters or, something worse until I see human flesh go down someone's throat. That doesn't mean that once everyone gets to Terminus though, they won't be responsible for whoever dies next. They are a pretty terrible group. My earlier prediction about the death was Maggie, just since it fit with some of the more logical rumors. To be honest, there's no character that I love so badly over the others that I would freak out if they died. So no matter what, we are going to feel awful. Based on everything I've heard about the actual finale, at least the tone of the finale, is that it's not going to be nearly as bad as the season 3 finale. They're not going to do a repeat, they're not just going to do the exact same thing. Question number 2, Chaos Device asks, do you think that the fire was from the house that Beth and Daryl lit up? Absolutely, and it did not look like it was that far away. They saw it during the day, so this episode probably took place the day after episode 12. So while all this Lizzie business was going down, Daryl was in the process of getting separated from Beth. Question number 3, Mikado Tanaka asks, do you think that the Grove will be haunted by the spirits of Lizzie and Mika from now on? I'm assuming that based on your question, you do believe that ghosts exist. So let's assume they do exist and are capable of perpetrating said hauntings. By that logic, yes, they are totally haunting the Grove with that little other kid that died before they got there. At least there's 3 of them now. Consequently though, in most horror movies, ghosts haunt places because they can't move forward. That means that Lizzie is still totally crazy and Mika is stuck with her for the rest of time. Does that mean that Mika is stuck in hell? I'll let you guys answer that question. My alternate theory is that they're following Carol around and they're going to give her nightmares just like Karen gives Tyrese. Question number 4, Rasengan asks, when do you think that Negan will show up? So Robert Kirkman was pretty clear on wanting a lot of space between the governor and Negan, so I think it's going to be at least midway through season 5 before Negan ever becomes a recurring character, maybe even later than that. I am expecting some teasers in the finale. I'm thinking that someone at Terminus might refer to the Saviors, which really is a Negan teaser. Because we haven't met Gareth yet though, it's pretty clear that he's going to be the big character we're going to meet at Terminus, for better or worse. He's supposed to be an antagonist, but if he's an amalgam of Gabriel and Jesus, then he's a good person. Both of those characters actually help the survivors, so it's really unclear if there's going to be an actual villain at Terminus, or if it's just going to be a new character. Question number 5, Sandra Ann 6690 asks, why did Lizzie kill her sister? So remember when Lizzie was on the train tracks and she said, I'll change myself and then you'll understand. She was talking about making Mika understand that the walkers were people. She thought of them the way we would think about our best friends and not as slowly moving bitey heads. I think she thought the best way, to quote unquote show Mika was to turn her, which is why she said, don't worry, she'll come back. I didn't hurt her brain. Because hurting the brain is the only way to kill a walker. And on top of all that, she was going to turn Judith to make Carol and Tyrese understand. Thank God that she did not. Question number 6, D95 Parkour asks, since Daryl was shown in the trailer after the episode, do you think that we'll find out what happened to Beth next week? So it seemed like everyone was in the teaser but Beth, so I kind of think that they're holding that off for the finale. It makes a weird kind of sense for the writers to hang Beth over our heads, so to speak, for one more week, just making us wonder who kidnapped her and whether or not she's alive. Add those things to the awfulness that looks like it's going to be happening anyway, and you arrive at the stress level AMC wants you to be at. The way I look at it is that they want everyone in the world to watch that finale, and the best way to get you to do that is to hold off on some of the big questions, namely, in this case, revealing what happened to Beth. I think the other big question we need to ask is what is the footage that's going to be in the teaser for the actual finale during episode 15? Question number 7, tbaby0486 asks, how do you think that Rick will handle seeing Carol again? Will Tyrese vouch for her because of the things she had to do? And how about Daryl, if he comes back, how will he react to Carol now? So Rick will probably mostly just be happy to see Judith again, so he's going to forget about any bad blood between him and Carol. And really, Carol was not pissed whenever they parted ways, so they don't hate each other. And even if they did, Rick is probably just happy to find more familiar faces that survived the governor's attack. He's a pretty broken man right now. Yes, there will probably be an awkward pause whenever they first see each other, until the camera pans to Judith, and then everyone will just break down crying tears of joy. And really, I think the same thing would happen if Daryl runs into Carol. Like, he would just be so happy to see her, he wouldn't care about anything else. Question number 8, Jamie Lannister asks, do you think they should have left Lizzie alone with all her friends? I assume you're talking about after she killed Mika. I think they didn't, just because Carol and Tyrese still felt really responsible for her, especially Carol. And even if they did try to abandon her, Lizzie just would have followed them. I think, had they tied her up to a tree or something like that, it would have just been cruel. And as much as Mika talked about not wanting to be bad, then Carol killing Lizzie, I don't think that Carol has ever been a bad person. She is a little extreme, but remember, whenever she confessed to Rick, she said there's nothing that she would not do for the children. Question number 9, Ben Joffrey asks, do you think that Carol will eventually kill herself with the shame of the murders fresh on her hands? So, at this point on the show, I consider Carol to be so different from the comic book version of her character that it's not even close. There are so many plot points that happen differently, and psychologically, I think Melissa McBride's version is much more in control of herself. She's like the opposite of helpless. And sometimes whenever people do commit suicide, it's because they feel helpless. Had she considered it for a moment, I think that Tyrese's speech about doing what they have to do and continuing on shook her out of it. All that considered, she will definitely be having nightmares about those children for the rest of her life. Question number 10, Kiara Ortiz asks, which groups do you think are going to be reunited first? So in the teaser we saw Daryl, Abraham's group, and Rick's group. So they're all moving towards Terminus at about the same rate. Glenn is the furthest behind, so I do think that they'll run into Rick's group first. Most of the time, but not always, the people we see in the teasers are the only groups that the episodes have been focusing on. So it's possible that Carol and Tyrese, as well as Beth, won't show up to the finale, so I'm just excluding them from this. And since Daryl's group is moving all over the place, it's also possible that he could stumble upon Abraham and Rick himself first. It kind of seems like Daryl's going to have a tough time quitting that group, so it might take some of the other survivors, like Abraham and his muscles, to help get rid of Joe and the Rednecks. And one last bonus question. Natalie Ellis asks, do you think that Rick will ever be killed off? So this is actually a really big problem for Robert Kirkman in the comic books right now. There's this big conflict going on called All Out War. I think that Kirkman wants to be able to safely kill off Rick at some point, without completely alienating the fandom, but as a temporary way to kind of sidestep the issue, they've started to feature a different group that does not include Rick, just to take the heat off the issue, so to speak. So short answer, whatever happens to him will probably happen in the comics first, unless Andrew Lincoln, the actor, wants off the show. It doesn't always follow the comic, but for the people that are alive, especially this season, all the deaths have gone down pretty closely to the way they happened in the comics. So thank you so much for submitting your questions. This was a lot of fun, as always. One more high five to Becky for winning this week's giveaway. A lot of you have started to ask me to do Season 5 videos, do predictions for what's going to happen next season. I'm going to be doing all of those kind of videos, but I'm just waiting till we get a little bit closer to the finale. There's still so much we don't know about how this season's going to end. In other news, tomorrow is Marvel Tuesday, and supposedly we're getting new Avengers 2 footage, so get excited for that. In the meantime though, click here to watch my review of the episode, and click here to get the rest of my Season 4 predictions. A couple of them have already come true in this episode, this stuff right here, but there's still a ton of stuff left to happen. So thank you so much for watching, I'll see you guys tomorrow, high fives.